The average grocery bill for an anti-inflammatory diet, according to wellness influencers, is $312 a month. Berries flown in from Peru, turmeric lattes, wild-caught salmon 3 times a week, powdered greens that cost more than your electricity bill. Here's what nobody tells you. The actual anti-inflammatory diet used by longevity researchers costs almost exactly what you're already spending on food. You've just been sold the wrong version of it. Chronic inflammation is one of the most consistent predictors of early death ever studied. It's linked to heart disease, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and most cancers. And the foods that actually reduce it aren't exotic. They're sitting in your regular supermarket right now for a fraction of what the wellness industry charges. Here's what the science actually says to eat. Chronic low-grade inflammation is different from the inflammation you get from a cut or an infection. It's silent, it doesn't hurt, and it runs in the background of your body for years, sometimes decades, before it manifests as disease. Doctors call it inflammaging. Inflammation that accelerates the aging process itself. A 2021 study in Nature Medicine tracked inflammatory markers in over 5,000 adults over 2 decades. People with the highest chronic inflammation markers had nearly triple the risk of dying from any cause compared to those with the lowest. Triple the risk. From inflammation, you can't even feel. The good news is that diet is one of the most powerful levers for reducing it, and you don't need to spend a fortune to pull that lever. Everything in this video comes from peer-reviewed nutrition research, not wellness influencer meal plans, not supplement company studies, actual science. Let's break down what to actually eat. The first category is cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. These are some of the cheapest vegetables in any supermarket, and they contain a compound called sulforaphane, which has been shown in multiple studies to reduce inflammatory markers significantly. A study from Johns Hopkins found that sulforaphane reduced key inflammatory markers by up to 25% in just a few weeks of regular consumption. Frozen broccoli works exactly as well as fresh, often better since it's frozen at peak nutrient density, and it costs a fraction of the price. The second category is oily fish: sardines, mackerel, and tinned salmon, not the $40 a pound fillet. Omega-3 fatty acids are some of the most well-researched anti-inflammatory compounds in existence, but you don't need the expensive version to get the benefit. A tin of sardines costs about $2. It contains roughly the same omega-3 content as a $15 salmon fillet. A 2020 meta-analysis of 25 randomized controlled trials found that regular omega-3 intake reduced inflammatory markers, including CRP and IL-6, 2 of the primary indicators doctors use to measure chronic inflammation. 2 to 3 tins a week, that's the target. Costs about $6. The third category is berries, and here's where people overspend the most. You don't need fresh organic berries flown from South America. Frozen berries, any berries, contain the same anthocyanins that give them their anti-inflammatory properties. A study in the Journal of Nutrition found that regular berry consumption reduced inflammatory markers comparably regardless of whether the berries were fresh, frozen, organic, or conventional. Frozen mixed berries cost roughly $3 a bag. They last for months in the freezer. Same benefit as the $8 organic punnet that goes off in 3 days. The fourth category is legumes: beans, lentils, chickpeas. These are among the cheapest protein sources on the planet, and they're rich in fiber, which feeds the gut bacteria responsible for producing short-chain fatty acids, compounds directly linked to reduced systemic inflammation. A tin of lentils costs about $1. It contains more fiber than most people eat in an entire day. The fifth category, and this one surprises people, is coffee. Plain black coffee. Coffee is one of the largest sources of antioxidants in the average Western diet. Multiple large cohort studies have linked regular coffee consumption to lower levels of chronic inflammation and reduced risk of several inflammation-linked diseases. You're not being sold a $7 turmeric latte. You're being told your $1.50 black coffee was already doing the job. Now here's what to avoid. And this matters as much as what you add. Ultra-processed foods, refined sugar, and seed oils high in omega-6 fatty acids are the primary dietary drivers of chronic inflammation. A 2022 study in the BMJ followed over 100,000 adults for a decade and found that high consumption of ultra-processed food was associated with a significantly elevated risk of inflammatory markers and related chronic disease. You don't need to eliminate these entirely, but reducing them matters more than any superfood you could add. So let's put this together into an actual weekly shopping list. Frozen broccoli and cauliflower, now about $4. Tinned sardines or mackerel, 3 tins, about $6. Frozen mixed berries, about $3. Dried or tinned lentils and chickpeas, about $3. Coffee you're probably already buying. Total additional cost, roughly $16 a week. Layered on top of a normal grocery shop you're already doing, this is the anti-inflammatory diet longevity researchers actually eat, not the version being sold to you with a $300 monthly price tag. Here's how this connects to everything else we've covered on this channel. Chronic inflammation directly impairs the mitochondrial function we talked about in the Zone 2 video. It disrupts the autophagy process we covered in the fasting video, and it's a primary driver of the biological aging gap we opened this whole series with. Reducing inflammation isn't a separate protocol. It's the foundation that makes everything else work better. Here's your one action from this video. Add 1 tin of sardines and 1 bag of frozen berries to your next grocery shop. That's it, 2 items, under $6. That's the anti-inflammatory diet starting today. Every week on this channel, we take what the longevity researchers actually know and translate it into something you can do on a normal budget. No $300 grocery bill required, just the science. Subscribe if that's useful to you. Next week, why muscle mass might be the single best investment you can make in your health after 35, and the minimum amount of exercise required to build it for free